What is the meaning of this story for us today? Well, to be able to answer that, I invite you to simply be still with each for whom this story seems to be about. And also for those for whom the story is not about, especially them. Will you join me in a spirit of prayer? Oh, gracious God, help us to become masters of ourselves so that we might become the servants of others. Take our minds and think with them. Take our lips and speak through them. Take our hands and work with them. And take our hearts and set them on fire with your Spirit. Amen. There is the mother of Jesus in this story, and it's interesting that in the Gospel of John, she is never actually called by name. She is just the mother of Jesus. And I imagine her standing at the edge of the celebration, because that would have allowed her to be privy to what was unfolding, what was happening. The sure embarrassment to the host when the wine ran out. And then, of course, there's Jesus, who is always at the center of the story. It's interesting that at this point he expresses hesitation to even consider what his mother is suggesting, wine running out and the consequences of that. Well, why does that have anything to do with him? And then the mother of Jesus, who clearly knows what Jesus is capable of, and with sure confidence, she tells the servants to do whatever Jesus tells them to do. And there's the steward and the host who have no idea about what is taking place behind the scenes to rescue and save the day. They have no idea. But I would hazard a guess, no doubt will be inclined to take credit for the excellent wine which is now being served to the guests. Who is the story not about? The servants. Or is it? Is this the meaning of the story for us today? There are those servants, those often invisible ones, who then simply do what Jesus tells them to do. Those who stand at the edge of the celebration, those who were not there in response to an invitation, but out of obligation. Those whose job was to ensure that the host, the steward, the guests had what they needed. Those who did what few saw or likely thought to appreciate. Those who were probably first to be blamed should something go wrong, and the last to be given credit when it didn't. Those servants doing what Jesus told them to do. The unenviable task of carrying the water to fill those 6 stone water jars. Think about it. Carrying 20 to 30 gallons each. Can you picture them walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, carrying bucket after bucket? Imagine their exhaustion. For this is not the first day of the wedding celebration. Weddings went on for days. They've been responding to the needs of the host, the stewards, and the guests nonstop for days now. I also imagine their skepticism. For by now they know the wine. The wine is running out. And while water is a component of wine, you don't make wine in a day or an hour. And then their astonishment as they realize that something is happening right before their eyes, which they could not have imagined or anticipated. That even while their muscles ached, what a wonder it must have been to see that there was now more wine than they had ever seen before. I think many of you can picture yourself in the place of those servants who, already exhausted, have from having served so long. Like them, find yourself walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, carrying the water to fill those stone jars, trying to trust that the one who has told you there is a reason for all this hard work and it's worthy of your trust. But because you know what the servants do not yet know when they first hear and respond to Mary's urging to do whatever Jesus tells them to do, because you know that God's glory has been revealed in unimagined abundance before for you in your life and for this community. Perhaps even in our own exhaustion, we are sustained for another hour, another day, even now at St. Paul. For it is so, isn't it? We have been carrying the water to fill the stone jars for a long time now. We're going on the 3rd year of this pandemic. You know, and I believe by this January that surely things would be getting back to quote unquote normal. Simply put, I had hoped that by now we would be able to linger longer being together without worry. It seems like the wine is running out. And yet, it is now, in the midst of this present exhaustion, that it seems Jesus sends us for water yet again. All the while reminding us to be ready for the miracle, the sign, which will reveal the almost incomprehensible abundance of God. Because we have seen what Jesus has done before in our lives, in our community, we live in hopeful anticipation that Jesus will do so again. So to each of you who has carried the water back and forth, these many months and years, know what you do matters. That there will be no wine without that. In courageous, often hard decisions, in all the ways that you have done new things, stumbling through at first, finding your footing again, and then again and again. I pray that you would be encouraged by the certain truth that along with those servants at the wedding in Cana so long ago, you will be among the first to see the miracle of the almost incomprehensible abundance of God. May it be so. Thanks be to God.